My secret superpower is my knack for attracting anything pop culture. Like, I don't even go looking for it. It just comes to me and I know anything that's happening that's part of pop culture.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was Flo.
Hi.
I do not think I have any superpower, but I do have a great hunger for entertainment, all things entertainment. The easiest way to get my attention or to change my mood if I'm in a bad mood is to put on anything movie or TV show related, and that's it. You have my 100% attention. So yeah.
And that is Tanvi.
Hello.
A special mention to our social media partners, Bollywood Direct.
You can find them on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Bollywood Direct.
And we are continuing with our quintessential Hindi movie series. And to find out how we define quintessential, check out our intro episode.
Every podcast is divided into 4 categories: fashion, acting, favorite songs, and our favorite scenes. Hi, and welcome to Movie Wala Podcast. And today we're going to talk about the most iconic Hindi movie of the century, the most iconic romantic movie of the century, Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, better known as DDLJ. It was released in the year 1995. The Prime Minister of India back then was P.V. Narasimha Rao. And one significant thing that happened this year was the city of Bombay was unfortunately renamed as Mumbai. Another thing that is significant in the list of things that mentioned in under 1995 is that this movie was released. So that's how significant this movie is, that it is actually an event of 1995 in India.
Wow.
So the director of this movie is Aditya Chopra. This was his first movie. The producer is Yash Raj Films, which is their home production. Music was by Jatin Lalit. Lead actors are Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol, introducing Karan Johar in his first acting debut among many others.
And it's a love story of Raj and Simran, two NRIs who live in London and who fall in love during their Euro trip. Simran's parents had already arranged her marriage with their family friend's son when they were children. And the story takes us on this journey of not just winning the girl, but also her family by Raj, played by Shah Rukh Khan.
Alright, so we saw this movie after a really long time. We had seen it, I think, like maybe 10 years ago or maybe a couple of years ago. And this was after a long time that we sat down and saw the whole film, like scene to scene without forwarding and getting up and cooking in between and whatnot. And oh my god, we were starstruck. We were like, our hearts were melting. Our brain was frozen. Like, Shah Rukh Khan's charm worked on both of us all over again.
And we were speechless. We were running out of words to describe what was happening in the movie and what the movie was doing to us. By the end of the movie, we were talking too much. We were sending voice messages to each other. That by the end of the movie, we were tired and we were like, oh my god, okay, we are not talking, we are not communicating, we are just like texting emoji. That is how much this movie affected us.
I know, this is like a 3-hour, 10-minute movie. 30 minutes more than any other average movie that we had seen. But 2 hours into the movie, we didn't realize it had been 2 hours. We were like continuously discussing and watching and going gaga over this film. And we were like, oh my god, it's already 2 hours in and we just have like an hour to go, and we didn't even realize it. It was such a good movie. So we've like given all our positive reinforcement about the movie way before we even started discussing it. But oh my god, we were completely smitten by Shah Rukh's charm and the stories and the dialogue.
And like Tanvi had mentioned, this was the directorial debut of Aditya Chopra. And this story was actually written by him.
He has written it, he's done the screenplay, he's written the dialogues, and he's directing the movie. I mean, this guy's a genius. Like, just give him an Oscar already. Like, just give him whatever is the highest award. Like, you know, they keep criticizing him that he's not been able to, you know, make another big movie like Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge again. And I'm like, dude, when a scientist does a discovery or an invention, you know, that person is set for life. Like, that person doesn't have to discover anything else. Like, why do we expect this guy to make another magic happen? He's done it. Like, he's given this masterpiece to the world cinema. I wouldn't even say Hindi cinema or Indian cinema. I'm just going to go and say world cinema.
I agree. Like I was telling Tanvi, if aliens come to Earth and they want to watch a movie, I think this should be one of the movies that they're shown about how we live as human beings. It's just that good.
Yeah, I mean, of course, for the sake of ripping it apart like a little bit here and there, we had some anecdotes to talk about. But other than that, like just something very bare minimum. Like one of the things that I thought was, which stood out to me is like they both are born and brought up in London, but they both have zero British accent and they choose to speak to each other in like proper Hindi. I have lived in London and that doesn't happen. Like, you know, they all have British accents. People who live there for a month have a British accent, but that's besides the point. But these two are born and brought up there and they have like absolutely no accent and they voluntarily choose to speak in Hindi to each other, which really doesn't happen much. So that was the only thing that I was like, interesting.
Do you want to dive into fashion before we go ahead and go gaga over our...
Yeah, we all keep saying about Shah Rukh, Shah Rukh, Shah Rukh, Shah Rukh.
If you want to do like a drinking game, if you're home and you're listening to this podcast, yeah, every time we say Shah Rukh, take a shot. Okay, so let's get into fashion.
You really liked it, didn't you? Like you had a lot of stuff to say about Kajol's look and hair and...
So, guys, can we talk about how refreshing it was to watch an actress on screen with messy hair who hadn't like straightened her hair, and the first scene of her is just this gorgeous face behind this unruly hair. So I was just telling Tanvi that I miss those times when they just had whatever hair they had naturally, you know, they didn't put so much effort to kind of straighten it and make it look like everyone else. And also her face, like even the makeup that she had on, you could see that there was not much of makeup there. It was just her face.
Yeah, like this is like all credit to Aditya Chopra because, you know, Manish Malhotra is the costume designer for this film, but Aditya Chopra had given him like strict instructions that he wanted to keep the look and the vibe of the film and the styling simple and relatable, and he didn't want the fashion to overtake the story.
Yeah.
I feel like Aditya Chopra really knew what he wanted exactly from the characters and how he wanted to portray them. So, yeah, I mean, I actually felt like Shah Rukh's wardrobe was way more interesting. Like the jackets he wears and the jumpers and the sweaters he's wearing, his half-tucked shirt and, you know, the two buttons of his shirt are always open and the chest is out there. Like Kajol is wearing really simple clothes. Like her Western clothes are like kind of meh. But her Indian clothes are really simple, like salwar kameez, and although the green outfit she wears during the Sangeet, that stands out.
So I think the green one that you just mentioned, so Manish Malhotra, I think that was the only thing that you could actually, you know, convince Aditya to do whatever he wanted to do. Because other things like Aditya controlled and he said that, you know, I need the clothes to be very simple, like you said. So this lehenga, the green lehenga, normally in India, most of the bridal wear is almost red, tones of red. But this was like Manish Malhotra said, okay, at least this should be like one thing that I want to do on my own. So he made this green lehenga, which is iconic again.
This one and the wedding, you know, the last lehenga she wears right at the end, it's golden. So like how you said, mostly the wedding lehengas are either red and pink and like the shades of really bright colors, but this one was a gold lehenga, which was also an unusual choice. And on Karwa Chauth, the outfit she's wearing is really pretty. So I think for the festivals and for the ceremonies, Manish Malhotra kind of got to do a little bit what he wanted to do. Overall, the film's like styling is super simple, relatable, like Girl Next Door, doesn't come across as somebody's trying too hard to look a certain way. So I really like that. But yeah, I was actually quite interested more in like what Shah Rukh's wearing because his clothes seem pretty like, I like that they were not like perfect, they were a little like, you know your word, unkept. They were unkept but they were cool, kind of trendy but not shabby.
And that was peak Shah Rukh, right? This was 1995. So this was the time when Shah Rukh was not this Shah Rukh that we know now. He had a lot of hits before, but he was still like coming into his own. But this was the Shah Rukh that India fell in love with right from his circus days. Kind of like unkept but very cool, and the whole energy that he brought on the screen.
He was so charming. He charmed the pants off me. Like, it was just like, oh my...
He just oozes romance and charm, right?
He absolutely does. Absolutely. And then, you know, any good Hindi movie is not made until it has some really amazing songs. And this movie had amazing soundtrack. Like, every song was off the charts. My personal favorite was Ho Gaya Hai Tujhko To Pyar Sach Na. That one is like just so dreamy, and the moment it starts, like that scene where they are parting at the station.
Yeah.
Oh Oh my God, I can take like long sighs all the time. It is a great song. And yeah. Which one's your favorite song?
My favorite is again the same song that you just mentioned, Na Jaane Mere Dil Ko Kya Ho Gaya. And the scene, when you said, for me the feeling is whenever I watch that scene, because that's the beginning of the song, it just gives me that very, like queasy feeling in your heart where it's kind of like breaking your heart to see these two people just leave, right? Because right at that scene is when Kajol says that I'm going to get married, I will send you my wedding invite. And Shah Rukh says, no, don't, because I'm not going to, come for your wedding. And then they go away. And then this song comes up. So it's just like, it just makes me so sad, even though I know what's going to happen.
That's interesting, because my emotion is completely opposite, because I feel like till that moment, Kajol doesn't realize that she also has feelings for him. Like till that moment, she's just like, going with the rhythm of the trip or whatever. I actually have a completely opposite reaction to that, because I actually feel like, oh my God, now she realizes she loves him. Like this is the moment she's realized she loves him, and now they're going to make it happen. I don't feel like they're parting. Mine is like now their love is starting.
But I think I have this pessimist way of looking at it. For me, it's more like, oh my God, now they know that both of them like each other, and now they're just going away. It's a train station, and any kind of goodbye breaks my heart, and especially like train stations or airports kind of make me really sad. But the song is again, it's just amazing. Yeah. So that song I like. And then I also like the picturization of another famous song, Tujhe Dekha To Ye Jana Sanam, because during the song sequence, they go to a lot of places that they've been on the Europe trip. Their dream sequence of revisiting those places again, which makes you hopeful. Because at that point of time, they're still not together. Yeah.
All of the songs. I liked all of the songs. But yeah, even the one, Tujhe Dekha To Ye Jana Sanam, is like, oh my God. And just like for record, I'm not a romantic person. And I'm not a Shah Rukh Khan fan. Like, I want to put it out there. Like, I'm not one of those people who go crazy over Shah Rukh Khan. And I'm not a romantic person. So for me, it's a completely out of body experience, that where the credit is due, I'm going to give it. This is an amazing movie, and Shah Rukh is drool worthy. Okay, I don't know how much, like this is probably 100th compliment I've given him right now, but yeah.
And I think you guys are probably drunk if you're playing the game. In India, if you're like a 90s kid, I think you would know every word of the songs.
Right? I remember like this movie came out in 95, and then in 96 I had my family used to live in New York, and I came to spend a summer with them, and I watched this movie for like a month and a half every single day. I'm not kidding. And at that time, they had like a VCR and a cassette, and there was like a TV in my room, and I didn't have that back home. So, I didn't have a TV in my room in India.
Yeah.
But I had a TV in my room over here, and I was like, I had this cassette, and I would watch it every day. I watched it every day for 1.5 months. Oh, I was like so crazy.
To be honest, these are the kind of songs that actually when I'm listening to it, like me and my husband, when we are going on a long drive or something, we always end up listening to a lot of Hindi songs. And when these songs come up, I always tell my husband, I am so lucky to be born in India, because it's such a unique experience, of watching Hindi movies and listening to the songs, growing up listening to the songs. The movie experience is very different when you grow up in India.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So moving on to our next segment of acting. So what did you think about the performances and the characters in this movie?
Where do I even begin? I especially like chemistry between Raj and Simran. I think that was one of the main reasons the movie did amazingly well. Raj is this hyper guy and Simran is this more sensible girl, which is normally the other way around. The girl is always shown as like the hyper, chirpy person, and then the guy is shown as the quiet kind. But this movie kind of like turned it around and showed a different side to each character. So I thought that was kind of refreshing. That was one thing that I absolutely enjoyed. And also I don't know if I enjoyed it, but this was one of the movies that was solely made for NRIs. Non-resident Indians. It was one of the first movies.
Yeah, absolutely. This was definitely the first movie which catered to an NRI audience. Like before this, they were never the central, like this was almost like an NRI was the theme of the movie. Like you are non-resident Indian and how do you feel about India and how you feel about continuing your traditions and all of that. Like that was a running theme in the movie, and there was not a movie before this. So Absolutely. Like Aditya Chopra with this movie was able to cater to the Indian audience which resides in India, as well as the non-resident Indians who reside everywhere else. And if one thing everybody knows about South Asians is like we are high on emotions, and there's this certain segment of people like me and Flo were discussing that we don't relate to that. Like there's a song in which there's like Meri Dharti Bulaaye and all of that, which kind of means like my motherland is calling me. And I was telling Flo like neither does my motherland call me, nor does anybody from my motherland calls me. And they're like tum jao, tum theek ho, tum wahi raho.
Yeah.
You know, so again, like translating it into like, you know, wherever you are, you're fine. You don't need to come back to India. It's more like, you know, everybody's like move forward. But of course, there are still a certain like segment of people who live in that same kind of an atmosphere that they left behind in India, and they live among the same Indian kind of, you know, population and people. So this movie is especially catering to them, like people who've left India, but they feel like their country is still like missing them.
Yeah. My country is definitely not missing me.
So, yeah, it was really like high on emotions on that part. So I was like, yeah.
But this was like a market that Hindi movies hadn't tapped into till this movie happened. And then there were like tons of other movies after 1995 which catered to NRIs and their emotions about their motherland.
Starting from Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gum to Neel and Nikki to Hum Tum to the list goes on and on. Like
this movie was a trendsetter.
This is how you divide romantic movie genre in India. It'll be like before DDLJ and after DDLJ. Like before DDLJ, it's all about love triangles. Like the love stories were always about, you know, all the other movies that we have featured in our series so far, they've always been the conflict is between the economic status of the family or the religion of the family, or a conflict between two families. They just don't like each other, like a Romeo-Juliet version. But there was never a conflict of ideologies. Over here, the conflict is not about money or religion. It's about, you know, that the father of Simran is conservative and he feels like the motherland, and you know, the same, like he wants the children to have the same set of principles, that values and principles that somebody from India would have. Whereas Shah Rukh and his father are little modern, and they've like gotten used to living like how a person living in London would behave, and like little Western. So this was the first movie which is actually dealing with the theme of ideologies.
Could not agree more. Yeah.
The best part about the movie is like the whole movie is so real and relatable. Even though it's set in London and UK, and maybe majority of people, you know, who watched the movie in India had not been there or ever experienced that life, but it felt real and relatable and yet cool and happening without trying to be cool and happy.
It's interesting that you mentioned all romantic movies in Hindi movies now. It's like pre-DDLJ and post-DDLJ. I think even Shah Rukh Khan's career graph, after this movie, it became like pre-DDLJ and post-DDLJ. You know, so this movie, in a lot of ways, were kind of like a path-breaking event, truly an event that happened in their lives as well, in terms of Shah Rukh and Kajol. Yeah,
you're right. This has become a reference point for everything. This kind of gave so much business to Eurorail, and everybody wanted to go on a Eurorail tour after this.
It really happened. Like 1 billion people in India wanted to take a trip in Europe and hopefully fall in love with somebody like Raj.
And bring that Swiss cowbell. I lived in Switzerland for like 4 years, and not a single person over there buys those cowbells. You know, I mean, of course they buy it, but it's not like they buy it and like, it's not something they carry. But now, after that, they know that when Indians are going to come, they're going to buy this cowbell. Like, I think the sales of cowbells also went up after that movie.
And I think Swiss tourism also, they started catering, like in terms of advertisements for Switzerland, they particularly like catered to India also, because they knew that Indians were bringing in a lot of tourism revenue.
The Swiss tourism had some kind of collaboration with Yashraj Films and other Hindi filmmakers, because that would give them the license to go and shoot in Switzerland easily in exchange for promoting their country to Indians. And I think after that, they must have put a ban on that. Like, they're like, oh no, please, enough. We are like a tiny little nation. We can't hold 1 billion people in this country. So besides Kajol and Shah Rukh, there were so many other characters in this film which were equally popular, and like it had such a good star cast, starting with Amrish Puri to Satish Shah to Farida Jalal. Farida Jalal's character is one of my favorite mother characters in Hindi movies. She's such a she's ahead of her times. She has that character where she has to listen to her husband. She has to make sure that, he doesn't get mad. But she still wants to support her daughter in whatever her dreams are and not like...
She wants a better life for her daughter,
I even like that aunt's character. Himani Shivpuri plays the Kammo Bua, who adds a little bit of flirtation and humor to the second half of the movie. So, what did you think about Mandira Bedi and Parmeet Sethi?
While we were watching and we were going gaga over Shah Rukh Khan, Tanvi actually reminded me, she's like, I feel sorry for Mandira because she has the same googly eyes as Shah Rukh Khan, like we are doing right now,
I felt bad for her. She did nothing wrong. In the whole, as a character, she was just poor girl, Preeti.
Yeah, who was in love with Shah Rukh. Obviously, who wouldn't be in love with Shah Rukh?
She would just bat her eyelids at him I wish people could see me batting my eyelids right now, but yeah.
Speaking of, what's his name? The guy who played the groom to be?
Parmeet Sethi.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so speaking of Parmeet Sethi, so normally in Indian movies, they always show as Westerners or anything Western as bad. But Aditya Chopra wanted to, change that narrative. And so in this movie, if you see, the NRI who is actually Shah Rukh Khan is the good guy. And Parmeet Sethi, who is actually born and brought up in India, he has these kind of vices.
Well,
so that was kind of an interesting...
Yeah, even Shah Rukh had those exact same vices when he was in London. But right now he's here trying to impress the father-in-law to be. So he kind of I don't drink. I don't hunt. I don't do anything.
But not as much as Parmeet Sethi. Aditya consciously made a decision to kind of change the thing.
Yeah. I actually remember watching this movie at the cinemas, and when there was intermission, everybody knew that right now we are watching an event. This is you felt like that. Okay, this is unusual. The only other movie I felt like that was the feeling in the cinema was when we were watching Hum Aapke Hain Kaun. People were okay, what is this? What is happening? This is something different. And then again, when we were watching this, because both completely different stories, but those are movies which kind of changed the whole way Hindi movies were seen and done. Another one was probably when I watched Lagan. I was like, oh my god, is this a real match? What is happening right now? Why am I cheering for these people?
Right. Yeah, and also one more movie that did that to Indian cinema was Dil Chahta Hai. People were like, wow, this is something different.
In college, when that movie came out, and we didn't have Hindi movies didn't release there. So I didn't get to watch it in the cinemas, and that is probably one of my biggest regrets in life. So getting back to favorite scene from this movie. I was while watching the movie, I'm making a list of all my favorite scenes, and here's how it goes. All my scenes goes Shah Rukh, when the snow is falling on it. Shah Rukh, when he's looking at Kajol. Shah Rukh, when he's wearing a green shirt. Shah Rukh, when... So it's oh my god, Shah Rukh this, Shah Rukh that, Shah Rukh. Those are my scenes. I have not even paid attention to what anybody else is doing. I'm just talking about all my scenes are Shah Rukh. Even Shah Rukh's eyes. Shah Rukh's expression.
Shah Rukh's dimples.
There are so many moments. Yeah, I don't know at what point did Aditya Chopra's direction end and Shah Rukh's own Shah Rukhism came on. The distinction is so hard to make in this film. He's magical in this film.
And one of the scenes I liked was, it's 15 minutes into the movie when Kajol wants, as Tanvi was saying, Kajol's dad is very conservative. So she wants permission from her dad to go on this Euro trip with her college friends, because she knows that after that she's going to get married to the guy that, her parents want her to get married to. So, knowing that her dad will say no most probably to the trip, she wants to convince him. So there's this beautiful scene where it's morning, early morning, and she's doing puja and all that like a good Indian daughter. And then, they kind of have a talk where she tries to convince him to let her go on this trip. And I thought that scene was beautifully done.
Yeah.
Yeah, the father-daughter relationship and the conversation that they have was done beautifully. So I absolutely love that scene.
One scene I liked a lot was between Shah Rukh and Anupam Kher, his father, is when towards the end Anupam Kher has come to India and he's kind of made some screw-ups in Shah Rukh's plan of winning Kajol's family over. And he's oh dad, you don't know anything. Then Anupam Kher tries to give him advice, and Shah Rukh's dad, you don't know anything. This is not how it works anymore, and ye aapka zamana nahi hai, ab ye sab nahi hota. And then Anupam Kher turns around and says, Mohabbat ka naam aaj bhi mohabbat hai. I was oh my god. I think I like that scene more for that dialogue. So translated in English, it's Shah Rukh saying to his dad that, this is now not how love works anymore. This is not your time. And the father turns around and says, but love is still called love.
Nice. And one more scene that I love is, after intermission, Shah Rukh Khan makes a trip to India to try to convince Kajol's family to get her married to him. And so she doesn't know that he's going to make the trip because she has no idea that even he's in love with her. And she's in this really beautiful field. You guys, DDLJ fans will know what I mean. Beautiful mustard flower field. Wink, wink. So she's just there. And then she turns around and she sees him standing there. Imagine, such a beautiful scene, right?
I know.
Just imagine you're in love with somebody, but you're not sure if he also loves you the same way. And you are here in another country, and then you just turn around and you see the guy standing there.
I know.
Just for you.
That would never happen in real life.
Yeah. Thanks, Hindi movies, for setting our expectations so high.
Yeah, I know. So, I mean, I can go on and on. There's so many scenes. Even the other one when they are like at the end of their Euro trip and they're about to take the train and they're just waiting for the train signal to go on, and it's right before like when that palat, that iconic scene happens, but they're like talking to each other and then they hear the train's siren go on and Kajol says, मैं चलती हूँ, मुझे मैं नहीं चाहती कि ये ट्रेन फिर से छूटे. To translate, Kajol says that I do not want to miss my train again. And then Shah Rukh says under his breath, like, पर मैं चाहता हूँ ये ट्रेन बार-बार छूटे. I was like, oh my god.
Melt. Which means, I will translate that. So which means Shah Rukh is saying that I want you to miss the train again and again and again.
Imagine. Like, if he said that to me, I would be like, dude, let's just run away right now.
Tanvi, do you want to talk about that scene where both of us were like, wow, if it was me, our love story would have just started right there and there.
Yeah, what scene was that?
Like, they try to look for a room because they missed the train and then all their friends have gone. So they find a room somewhere in a random place, and then she wakes up next day with Shah Rukh Khan's shirt and, Shah Rukh Khan bringing her breakfast in bed. And she's like, oh my god, like, how?
Yeah, how am I wearing this shirt?
Kajol freaks out because she's like, oh my god, I don't know what we did last night and blah, 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 right? So she's like literally crying. And then Shah Rukh says, he gets all Shah Rukh-y.
Shah Rukh-y.
And then he calms it down and says,
yeah, I don't remember it verbatim, but it's something like, मैं जानता हूँ कि तुम मेरे बारे में क्या सोचती हो, पर मैं ये भी जानती हूँ कि हिंदुस्तानी लड़की की इज्जत क्या होती है, और मैं कभी ऐसा, and it is all like in his husky, deep voice, and really slow and really close to her. And he's like, मैं इतना भी गया गुजरा नहीं हूँ or whatever, and मैं ऐसा कभी नहीं करूँगा, and this and that. And then he's just looking at her and they are so close to each other, and me and Flo, we were like, dude, I would have kissed him. I was like, if nothing happened anything last night, it should happen tonight.
It's just peak Shah Rukh.
I know, and I was like, why is this girl so dumbo? Like,
and she's least affected by all the
No, she was affected, but she's like mere sanskar or mere pitaji, or I don't know. I think that's what was going on in her head, because you can tell like she was little, like she's taken like little bit by his charm, because after that she takes a moment to put herself together. I was like, why?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a scene that you guys must rewatch.
Yeah, you must rewatch and forget how badly we have enacted it for you. Like, do not judge it by our poor acting skills and dialogue delivery.
Yeah. Okay, because this is a very iconic movie, because this is DDLJ we're talking about, do you want to talk about all the iconic things that happens?
Let's list it out.
Okay, the Palat scene.
Yeah, iconic. The mustard field scene where they first time meet as lovers.
I think India discovered that mustard fields can be so beautiful.
Yeah.
Yep. And where Shah Rukh has this, he always carries his ukulele and he's strumming the song
Tujhe dekha to ye jana. Even the outfit became iconic, right? Like the wearing that leather jacket and a hat, and then like some instrument became like lovers uniform. And then the other one would the iconic dialogue of "Bade bade deshon mein choti choti baatein hoti rehti hai." And just to add another anecdote to this, like when President Barack Obama visited India in 2015, he was trying to make a reference to something that, you know, with most of the Indians can relate to, and then he actually used this line, this specific line from the movie to kind of relate to the audience. So like that's big. That's how big this movie's impact is.
Yeah, and people still use this line.
Yeah, I use it all the time.
And then obviously the word senorita.
Oh yeah. That's how Shah Rukh refers to Kajol. So the iconic dialogue of when finally Amrish Puri sees Shah Rukh's love and he's like, okay, this guy loves my daughter and she needs to be, then it's like, Ja Simran, ja, ji le apni zindagi. So this has become like one of those things you say to anybody who you want. We're like, yeah, go live your life, man. Go. Leave me alone. Just go.
The last scene of the movie, after he says Ja Simran, ji le apni zindagi, Shah Rukh is already on the train and the train is already moving, and Kajol in her all gorgeous lehenga, she's running in slow motion. And then Shah Rukh puts out his hand and then she catches his hand. He just takes her into the train. That is so iconic. I don't even have words to express how iconic.
And that is one of those scenes, like how, you know, when people talk about Titanic and they say like there was enough space on that log for Jack and Rose on, like, why didn't they both just like go on it? This is the same, something similar. Like, why didn't he just jump off the train instead of like, you know, making her run so bad? And this movie makes reference to two of the previous movies we've covered in this podcast. First one is from Bobby, and if you guys listen to it, you remember we mentioned this iconic song, Andar se koi bahar na aa sake. So there's this moment in the beginning when Kajol is about to miss her Eurorail tour train, and she has to like kind of grab Shah Rukh's hand to get on the train. And when they get on the train, they are like kind of stuck in a box, and Shah Rukh starts humming this song. So that was like a reference to an old song, which, you know, everybody who was watching that movie would know. And then again, when Shah Rukh is in Amritsar trying to woo all of Simran's family, they are about to have like a Antakshari, a singing game, and they start with the song Jab Pyar Kiya To Darna Kya, which is again a reference to a movie which we covered, Mughal-e-Azam, and that was the most popular iconic song from that movie and in general from Hindi movies. So this is what happens. When a movie gets popular, other movies make reference to those movies, and then DDLJ itself got so popular that there are like 1 billion references of DDLJ in 25 years of movies after that. So that is that. And now moving on to our last segment of recasting for this amazing movie where nobody else can play Shah Rukh's charm, but we're gonna kind of try and...
To be honest, we've done so many of recasting, right, in our previous 7 episodes, but this one, in my heart, I don't want to recast Shah Rukh Khan and Kajol. But if we had to, I would pick Varun Dhawan for Shah Rukh, for Raj, and P.S. Bhumi, why I'm saying P.S. Bhumi, Bhumi Pandekar for the role of Simran.
I can see it. Yeah, like Bhumi has that earthy charm, and she's a good actress. So, I think she can rise up to the occasion. And Varun is a charmer.
Yes. Like he has to tone down and then just bring the charming side of him,
They did like Humpty Sharma Ki Dulhania, which is kind of like a, spin-off on DDLJ. So he can totally do it. Like I can totally see him in this role. And I am with you. Like I actually do not want to cast Shah Rukh Khan's role to anybody, but this is just for the sake of our segment. So we're just like playing along. And I do not even think this movie should be remade by anyone ever in their whole freaking life. Not even if they're paid $1 billion.
Don't you dare touch this movie.
But just for the sake of our small little podcast, I think I would like to cast a Ranveer Singh, because I can see him, like I want somebody who's not like conventionally good looking but has the energy and charm. And then I would cast Sonakshi Sinha, because I think she has the acting potential, but she hasn't been given the platform, or she hasn't taken the platform, whichever way. And I like their pairing in Lutera, kind of recreate, but in a romantic, happy movie. Lutera was a really sad movie, but yeah.
I love that pairing. She was amazing in Lutera, right? I wish she would do more movies like that. So yeah, this would be a good casting.
Alright, that's about it. We are done with our 8th podcast in this series. Thank you for listening. We will see you guys next week. If you have any feedback, if you've seen this movie or now have we convinced you to watch this movie, share your feedback on social media with the hashtag Moviewala Podcast, or we are on Instagram at Moviewala Podcast. Bye.
Bye.